Hi and welcome to my unit review of the Shade. In this video I'm going to talk about this unit's roles, its strengths and weaknesses, its abilities and stats. About the Shade, well, it's hard for me to find some real weaknesses. The versatility of this unit is pretty crazy. It's pretty much designed to be everywhere in your formation and offers solutions for a lot of problems. So overall, I don't really find any downsides to this unit apart from being pretty demanding in terms of strategizing. I would say the real downside of the Shade is that you have to wrap your head around how he works to really utilize him. So let's get into that. With the skills and the features. The feature is that whenever somebody misses this guy, he takes damage. Oh boy, that's so useful. First of all, the Shade's abilities are also decreasing the enemy's accuracy, so that synergizes pretty well. And this also makes him a pretty grateful receiver of marks, like the Blood Phantasm can mark a unit, or generally being a pretty good tank for the formation in various ways. So let's get into the skills. The Pain Reflection turns up a stance which causes the enemies to take stress damage equal to the damage dealt to your minion. Whatever minion. Everywhere. The downside of the skill is you can't use it twice in a row, because if you look at the distribution in the formation, you notice that you'll always end up in a position where the Shade can't do it right away again. This changes though if you have two Shades in your back row which can spam this. These guys are really well made to be used multiple times in formations as well. So the upgrades here are more damage, and the damage received by enemies is also reduced while the stance is up, or alternatively more damage, so 135 towards 100% and 110%. Trick of the Eye. So the Shade and the target swap positions and they gain evasion. So this is kind of like decreasing the accuracy for the enemy as well. And this is the way how the Shade can move in the formation however he pleases. And even buff people with that. So, upgradable to an accuracy bonus, which also will increase the crit, or even more evasion. Believe me, 40 evasion is a lot. Next up is Dark Portal, gaining mana for Iratus, even more mana, or spell power and less mana. That's a wonderful support skill, what can I say? For every active player of Iratus, this is, whenever you play more with the active spells of Iratus, this skill is so wonderful. A straight out mana pump, and if you have enough mana, you can also use this to increase spell power. What can I say? Pure versatility. Black Light, debuffing the enemy and making him lose accuracy. It doesn't stack though, would be OP if it would. And it also draws the enemy closer towards the front of the formation. Upgradable to debuffing Luck or more accuracy debuff. This is another pretty strong synergizer for this feature. It even breaks stances if people's stances are vulnerable towards movement. Not all are, most of them though. And yeah, what can I say? It's a debuff and a stance breaker at the same time, usable from every slot in your formation. Hell yeah. So next up, Gloom Claws. Probably one of the most strange skills at the first look, but it's super nice. So you'll deal 80% of the missing sanity the target has. Most of the time, if an enemy has a empty sanity bar, you can one-shot them with that. That's my experience from that. Gloom Claws is insanely strong. Its only downside being that it's only usable from the back row. More often than not, my Shades linger around in these slots whenever I need this skill. But yeah, with some foreplanning, you can execute enemies pretty good with that. You're able to upgrade that towards ward and towards ward ignorance and destruction, and more damage, like 100% conversion towards of the sanity into damage. This is pretty much a one-shot skill. Last up, Deep Shadows. It summons a cloud of darkness at a target position, which will destroy 30% of the current vigor of an enemy. Magical damage, so, well, this is some really nasty stuff. Because it's cheap. You'll destroy a straight up percentage of the enemy's HP, so basically it's most useful on healthy enemies, and it's castable on every enemy slot, and it's a back row skill. Upgradable to some... wait a sec. More damage per... yeah, here we are. 40 and 30. It's doing more damage. And the other one is decreasing the cost at a meager 20... towards a meager 25. I mean, this costs only 35 to begin with. This is really low. So this skill set is so versatile. You can finish off enemies with that. You can deal substantial damage to enemies. You can deal stress damage. You can buff Iratus. You can buff your allies. You can debuff the enemies. The only thing a Shade can't do is just spike down an enemy. There's always some preparation, some trick, but this guy combines so well with various other units. So let's get into the stats next. We're having a pretty low availability of attack bonus here. I can't even increase the dread at all, so that's pretty notable, because he's basically somebody who is dealing stress damage on one skill, and well, it's only one skill with stress damage, so it's not that dramatic. And vigor is also pretty low-ish. It's okay, though. He at least gets 7 points and can increase at 5 ranks. It's not... he's mediocre at that department. Initiative is okay pretty too. Increase of 2 per rank is pretty nice. But where he really shines is, look at that. 10 ranks of armor and resistance. Pretty cheap. This makes the Shade end up pretty tanky once you've put up enough points into this department here. The accuracy stacks up pretty... it only has 3 ranks, but you have a pretty high base value, so that's okay. Luck and evasion have 5 and 6 ranks. Sadly, evasion is not that easily buffable, but if you see here, we can increase 30% more, so you would get a base rating of 48% of evasion. Give yourself the buffs and debuffs, you're basically getting guaranteed procs of the feature with that. And oddly enough, you can increase block and ward once for a whopping amount of 9 points, but it's at least there. I don't have any item for this guy here on this run right now, sadly, so I have to leave this out and come to a conclusion there. The Shade combines very well with so many different formations. You can use the Pain Reflection if you want to go for a stress formation. You can crank up mana for Iratus skills. You can use debuffs and buffs for different other formations. You can finish up enemies with that. You can weaken up formations with this. You can decrease the accuracy of priority targets. I end up with using Shades for a little bit of something everywhere. And the best part about that is if you derive some really specialized formation with the Shade, he even shines there too. So, long story short, I really like this unit, although I would consider him one of the most difficult units in the game. That's just my personal opinion. So feel free to drop me a comment about that. I would really love to hear your thoughts about this unit as well. And apart from that, you know the usual drill. I can use all the likes I can get on this video, share it with your friends, or even subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And check out the other unit reviews. Keep them coming, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.